Happy mid-morning, guys. All right, so I want to touch on something here that a couple of different directions on something that I've talked about in the past, but I know there's a lot of new people here, and it's always worth having a refresher on this, but information-wise as well. Unless you're living in a hole in the ground, you're probably aware that Hurricane Ian is about to hit Florida. It strengthened overnight from a Cat 1 to a Cat 3 when it hit the eastern side, or I'm sorry, the western side of Cuba, and is now expected to make landfall somewhere between Cape Coral and Panama City. So, pretty much everything, the entire Gulf Coast, if you will. I mean, there hasn't been a hurricane that's hit Tampa in 100 years, and, Tampa could be direct center for this. Now, I want you to look at this real quick. Just because it's going to hit Florida doesn't necessarily mean Florida is the only one in danger. If you look at this picture here, and I'm smack dab in it too, okay, the entire state of Georgia, the entire state of South Carolina, half of Tennessee, and 3/4 North Carolina, about half of Virginia, and all the way up into West Virginia could see weather events from this. I looked at my local weather, and mind you, I'm up, if you don't know where I am, if you look in Tennessee, basically where Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia meet, that's about where I am, okay? So I'm way in the north side of things, and we're still expected to get a couple of inches of rain with potential heavy rain, okay? So, if you're in Georgia or whatever it is, just be ready for some serious wet weather. If you haven't bought sandbags in the past, and I've done a video on that, where to get them and everything like that, might have some sandbags handy. I mean, even if you're in Georgia, don't want water coming in your basement or your kitchen, anything like that. But that's not the biggest thing I want to discuss. And again, this kind of goes right back into what I've been talking about here this morning and the last few days, is power. Remember, our supply chain is still FUBAR, okay? There's no question about that. If you remember all the conversations I've had about electrical parts, and I'm not talking about a plug, I'm talking about transformers and, pole boxes and everything like that you're getting, that keep the power coming not only to your house, but to your entire neighborhood, your entire village, whatever would be. Those are basically gone, okay? And we get those from China, believe it or not. Isn't that nice, okay? And if I remember correctly, they were saying 6 months to 2 years to get them. Now, if this hurricane is destructive, seriously destructive, and starts knocking out power in major areas like Tampa, like Jacksonville, big cities, Tampa, St. Pete, and Jacksonville, they're going to need a whole lot of these transformers to replace stuff. And so what you're going to have is, just like every other disaster, if you will, there's going to be shipments of, okay, Commonwealth Edison in Chicago has some, so they're going to send them down to Florida to do it. And all that does is put you you live in Chicago, or you live in Boise, Idaho, or whatever. They are going to ship the parts that your local utility has down in Florida to get the power back on down there. There aren't more to come. And we've talked about this before. I mean, you start thinking about what is going to happen, all right? Down in Cuba, and this thing's a Cat 3 in Cuba. It's supposed to hit us as a Cat 4, 125 mile an hour winds. From what I've seen, we're supposed to have 140 to 150 mile an hour winds that are going to hit in Florida. What does that do to a palm tree? Okay, yeah, power lines? Okay. Now I can't say if Florida has underground power lines, overhead power lines, whatever it would be, okay? But you're going to have disruptions. There's no question. There's going to be transformers that are going to get wiped out. Then you talk about the water, 6 to 12 inches of rain in central West Florida, 4 to 6 in the rest of the whole peninsula of it, okay? And 4 to 6 inches in the Keys, okay? Think about this. Look at what was going on in Puerto Rico. I mean, think of Puerto Rico a couple of years ago when that hurricane hit. There was a year and they still didn't have power. Look at what's going on right now in Puerto Rico. They still don't have power in a lot of places, okay? And Puerto Rico's a U.S. territory, so yes, we do send stuff over there. But we have crews from Illinois going down to, I mentioned ComEd, okay? Crews from Illinois are already on the way down to Florida to help, not only to Florida, but also going to Georgia. This is telling you right there, they know there's going to be power outages. If we don't have the product, transformers, whatever, to fix this, okay, then the people in Florida are without power for God knows how long. But take it a step further. Winter's coming, all right? The aforementioned Illinois, the aforementioned Boise, Idaho. Pick anywhere in the northern half of the country. You're going to get snowstorms. Power goes out in the winter, all right? What happens now in Illinois, for example, or Boston, or Syracuse, or Pittsburgh? It doesn't matter. I'm just saying in general. What happens when the transformers that you had in your area were sent down to Florida to get the power back on in September, and in November a storm hits and they go, we don't have any transformers, and nobody else in the United States has any transformers. Hi, China, can you send us some transformers? Sure, we'll be there about July of 2024. Can you say SHTF moments? This is crucial, guys. This is what's coming. And the stupid part is we knew about these transformer shortages 6-9 months ago, a year ago, okay? And did we see any Emergency Powers Act or whatever the hell it was and start making transformers here like we did to make respirators? Remember at COVID, all these companies, we can turn our assembly lines into making respirators in 2 weeks. Did we do that in the United States to make transformers? No. Okay. What's your backup plan? Guys, this is getting prepping experience, okay? This is no longer a concept. This is no longer a what if situation. This is now a when situation. When your power goes out and there are no transformers to get your power back on, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you live in Fargo, North Dakota, and it's 20 below, and they say, we're sorry, we can't get your transformers back on, or your electrics back on. We don't have any transformers. You don't have any heat. Now, chances are most people up there have wood stoves or whatever would be, so hopefully that's taken care of. But you live in an apartment, you don't have a wood stove in your apartment. How are you going to cook? A lot of apartments, again, have electric stoves, right? What are your backups? What are you going to do? Do you have a contingency plan for this? Just because a hurricane's hitting in Florida, guys, don't think because you live in Salt Lake City, this doesn't matter to you at all. This is going to affect all of us. And I don't even have to throw in the part of, we got to declare a natural disaster and give Florida $86 billion. Not like we don't have the money. We can give it to Ukraine every day, right? Just saying. Use situations like this to think past here. Don't be a Democrat, What is the potential and how this is going to affect me? Because it will. And roll out.